Trans rights.
Ace rights, yo!
Welcome back to the Arch Plays with Starbuck Transom.
And not a vampire.
So, what do you mean by ace rights?
I'm only saying it because you brought it up as a topic, to be honest. Like, I've never, like, so it's a meme, but also not a meme, like, to just, like...
Say trans rights?
Yeah, say trans rights and, like, put that all over the chat. Like, it was everywhere in Ollie's chat stream. Ace rights, though, that's... I've never heard that. Like...
Well, what do you think, just, like, from a gut level, about people saying to you that you are not oppressed because you're ace?
Oh my fucking lord!
All right, well, I guess that means that there's actual content there.
Like, yeah, there is actual content. Like, there are things that, you know, ace people are, like, shat on for. Yeah, we're not, like, you know, the headliners. We're not trans people getting, getting murdered for, like, trans, fear, like, the gay plague fear or whatever.
Gay panic defense?
Yeah, gay panic defense. We're not... like, gay people being told that they're not allowed to be as miserably married as anyone else. Like, yeah, so that's true, but we also face things like any gay or trans or otherwise LGBT plus spectrum person would face, like, corrective rape. That's not just a lesbian thing. Like, just have enough dick or pussy until you're not asexual, and, like, have as much sex as you need until you find it attractive.
Can I just say to everyone in the universe that the word pussy is the most disgusting thing?
It is. I don't like it either.
Which sucks, because I love vaginas.
Yeah. Like, I don't really like any term for vaginas except for vagina, but even that has gone a weird connotation in my mind because of how it's been said and how, like, people treat it like a dirtier word than pussy.
I have the exact opposite experience of that.
Well, I'm sure you do. And you're also more accustomed to the myriad of interesting ways to refer to a vagina.
Yeah. I'm a collector of different words for vagina. Let's see. Snatch, gash, let's see. Some people will say kitty, but I think that's, like, going in the wrong direction. It's better than pussy. Which,
I don't
as
like
I say it right now, still bothers me.
Yeah, I don't like it.
I actually prefer cunt to pussy. It's, let's see. The absolute best is clunge.
Yeah, that...
It sounds so guttural and, like...
Yeah.
And that way you can say, take the clunge plunge. Sniz.
Yeah, these all just sound like disgusting or like schoolyard slang for I don't want to say vagina out loud.
All right, how about just vag? I am
fine.
replaying this level, by the way, because I realized that there was a heart piece that I could get for Zelda, so that's why I'm redoing this level.
Okay.
Despite the fact that it's so absurdly long.
Yeah, we spent, like, the entire last episode playing this.
And the last episode was, like, 3 episodes in length. It was, like, 45 minutes.
Thereabouts, yeah. Yeah, but anyways, yeah. So just call it vag or vagina.
Yeah.
Around me.
Vag seems neutral to me. In the same way
here.
that dick seems neutral.
Yeah, that's how, like, I'll say, like, a short form of vagina. I'll say vag.
How about peen or ween?
That just sounds so childish.
But it sounds like somebody is intentionally being childish in a way that no child would actually be. Like, it doesn't scan as something that a kid is saying to me. Yeah,
no, I don't think a child would actually say that, except maybe, like, you know, they heard someone else refer to it like that way, so that's just what they use. Like, that's the only context I can think of other than, like...
P-Style. The song P-Style.
Yeah, other than, like, a grown adult...
The bot flies out of my wing!
Yeah, no, I can only see, like, a situation like that, like, where you're purposely saying something stupid. But, yeah, like, Yeah, so corrective rape, totally a thing for, like, ace people, too.
Poontang.
Like,
Like, I know we're getting back into the
yeah,
into the serious
trying
topic.
to.
We're trying to, but like
You're,
I can't let that last little snippet of a topic go without saying poontang.
it's actually distracting now.
Okay. All right.
Like,
all right, we're moving on now.
What was I saying now?
Corrective rape exists for ace people.
Yeah, so that's a form of oppression. Like the expectation that our lives are incomplete, like for those asexual people who don't want to have sex. Like there's a part of us that, like, we're denying ourselves a necessarily human experience, and we're basically not being people if we don't have sex.
Yeah, people treat you like you're being deprived if you aren't having sex.
Yeah, or like we're just being like super prudish or like sexually repressed.
And part of that, I imagine, is because a lot of people feel entitled to sex such that they feel deprived for not having it.
It might be part of that, but I think it's more like most people, like an incredible amount of people view sex as something completely natural and like just something that you want, and to not want it is
it's like not wanting food.
Yeah, exactly, because it just seems to go completely against human nature. And if you argue, like, like sex is for reproduction, then technically, yeah, it is against, like, human nature and as we're built as people. But that is not necessarily a bad thing, especially because we don't need, like, every single fucking person on Earth to make babies and have sex in order to survive anymore.
And there's defenses for asexuality on all sides. Like, in the like standard framework of science, the defense for why are there ace people is the same as why are there gay people, because it doesn't reduce the community aspect. It just there's more nurturing couples to rear children in a small space.
Exactly, and especially like with allowing gay couples to adopt, like, there are so many children who are given up for adoption for many various reasons that basically live their entire lives in the foster system. Like, they never get that single home that they can call their own. Like, they just end up going from family to family until, like, they're 18 and the system spits them out because it's not their problem anymore. Like, and... like, can you really say that, like, the system is fine as is, not, like, with only allowing heterosexual couples to adopt? No, of course not, because that's ignoring all the children who never even get a chance of being adopted because there's not enough adoptive parents, like, looking for them.
Yeah, I don't totally agree with this, but I've seen somebody make the argument having your own kids is like going to a breeder for a pet when there are so many out there in shelters that are dying.
Yeah, like I don't fully agree with that either, especially like with the human like aspect of it. Like when it comes to pets, like, yeah, I kind of do agree, because I don't like the, like, basically commercial breeding of pets. But there is something to say to, like, the desire of wanting your own flesh and blood children.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just, like, I want my family line to continue. It's, like, children, in a way, are a combination of the love between you and your partner. And it's, like, it's made a little bit more special if, the children are born of both of your bodies. And yeah, that's necessarily something that can't happen between a homosexual couple. But
actually, yes, it is.
Well,
now I know that it's only ever been done for women, but
yeah,
you can take an extract of something out of your bone marrow and make sperm out of it.
I think that's a lot more complicated, though.
Yes, it is. It's very, very difficult and very expensive if you want to actually do it.
Yeah,
but gay women can have biological children.
Yeah, but essentially, like, it doesn't make less important or special to a homosexual couple when they adopt. Like, those children are still very much their own children, basically. Like, but Okay, but getting back to
Yeah.
asexuality. So yeah, like
Well, we went on that little digression because there's no
yeah.
matter what your worldview is, there's a reasoning for aces to exist within that worldview. In the Christian framework, for example, having a spouse is a compromise. The ideal situation is that you never need one.
Oh really?
Yeah, it doesn't get talked about much, but that is the case.
See, and that's something for aromantic rights. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so you're basically going to be a lonely and stuff forever? No, I just don't want to have a significant other. Thank you very much.
Yeah, there are other kinds of relationships to be valued besides romance.
Exactly, and like even if like so, Saint talk like here's another thing with asexuals like a relationship where like taking the sex out of a romantic relationship doesn't make it so basically just friends or best friends. Like there's still like necessarily like exclusively romantic interactions like if you're thinking of it in the Sims way that are blocked off when you're just friends. Like going on dates, snuggling, cuddling. Like some of these things are becoming more platonicized, but that's still not very common. Like there's still things that you associate only with a boyfriend, girlfriend, or joyfriend. Apparently, joyfriend is the non-binary term for it.
I love that.
Yeah, it's great.
That's fucking rad.
It is.
Oh, that's great. Oh, yeah. All right. So, if you are the kind of person who is thinking, well, what is even the point of your relationship if you aren't fucking? That means that if you were to take the fucking out of your relationship,
You
don't have
nothing.
anything else.
Yeah.
And that basically reduces your partner to just a fuck toy.
Yeah, basically, you are literally objectifying your partner if that's all they are to you. Like,
And that also is included if you feel like there would be, let's say, a diminishment in your relationship. You know?
yeah, because, like, to be in a, like, romantic relationship, a companionship for life, or ideally for life, you need to value that person as a person, not just as a physical thing to give you pleasure. Like, because eventually one day you will get too old for sex. You both will not look as beautiful as you once did. So what's going to be left when like you're where you physically can't do sex anymore and you don't look good?
So, as a preface to this question, do you know if there is an ace word for sexual people in the same way that
Yes.
trans has cis?
Yes, it's allosexual.
All right. So as an allo,
As an allo.
as an allo, I happen to have it on good authority that old people fuck until they die.
Yeah, like I've only been given the idea that maybe some old people can't fuck it anymore. Like after a certain point from The Sims, because like when you fuck as an elder at a certain point, then you get a moodlet like saying like strenuous physical activity, dangerous. Don't do any more of this right now.
That's just like, use your imagination, man. Like, it can be light exercise. I would call it light exercise unless you're doing something really extreme. But
Maybe all the Sims characters are super kinky.
yeah. Anyway,
Who knows what goes on under those beds?
I would call it light exercise unless you're doing something really extreme. But like, there are other options. There's a lot of stuff you can do that would not be strenuous. So
Yeah.
like, what the fuck, Sims?
But basically, like one day you're not gonna be as beautiful. Like you and your partner won't be as beautiful. Like, so what are you gonna do when you can no longer like the reason you value them physically is no longer there?
Well, a lot of people's perception of the attractiveness of a person is directly related to them being attracted to that person's personality and such. Like, people get hotter the longer you know them.
See, that's how I would hope, like, attraction works, but I don't know.
Yeah, the fact that you didn't know that is fascinating.
Well, much of my knowledge of the human experience comes from what I experience personally, and if I don't experience it, then I don't know it.
Yeah, and the rest of your knowledge of human experience is The Sims. It's just The Sims.
Basically, yeah. Yeah. I mean...
People are essentially Sims.
Yeah, I mean, like, woohooing unlocks after a certain amount of romantic points, right?
Yes, and then eventually you give them a blue feather.
What?
Harvest Moon.
Okay.
Giving somebody a blue feather is how you propose in Harvest Moon.
Oh, I see. Cool.
Don't confuse blue feather for white feather. Having a white feather on your head is a mark for execution, as per Assassin's Creed.
Yikes. Okay. So you just put a white feather in your hair and it's like, someone please kill me.
There's a saying somebody has a feather on their head, or a white feather on their head is the...
Like, basically code, like, this person's wanted for death?
Yeah. At least that's what I gather from playing the game. I did zero research.
Okay. Getcha. Alright, so other ways asexuals are oppressed. We're oppressed, like, by saying that we're not oppressed.
Yeah.
Like,
and
we're not allowed to enjoy the community of
Mm-hmm.
the LGBT, or to be considered as a part of it, or have the support of being a minority sexuality because we don't look LGBT, or we don't look conventionally LGBT, even though we've always been there. Like, asexuality was recognized, like, as an LGBT identity as far back as the 70s.
Yep. The ace superpower is invisibility.
Yeah, exactly, and that's also one of our greatest weaknesses because, like, people use that to argue, well, we look cis straight, so shouldn't we just be cis? Like, shouldn't we just be cis straight? Or we look gay enough, shouldn't you just call yourself gay instead of being a coward? It's exactly the same arguments people used to use and still unfortunately use against bi people.
Yeah, and on that note, just as a brief aside, the idea that bi people basically eventually wind up settling on one thing or the other is really just, what are you fucking talking about? You mean, like, that people eventually have a significant other for a long-term relationship? Is that what you're saying? People eventually settle down into a long-term relationship? Who would have fucking thought?
Yeah. God. Like, and I know they don't mean it that way, but that's basically what they're, like, that's, like, the words that they're using. Like, well, just because you're bi doesn't mean you want to continue to sleep with everyone. That doesn't mean you're that doesn't mean you have to be non-monogamous, too.
That reminds me a lot of how in like sitcoms and stuff, up until like 2010, if you had a character who was in a gay relationship, even if they were just experimenting, that person had to say the words, "I am gay now."
Really?
Yes.
See, I was thinking of, like, Maureen from Rent, where because she was bi, she had to sleep around and, like, kiss everyone she saw.
As opposed to just being a shitty person, and that, like,
Yeah.
her flakiness. I don't count that as an example of it, because her flakiness shows up in every aspect of her character.
Yeah, I would too, but because she was bi in a time where bi people had no representation, it really, like, that really stands out.
It definitely reinforces the stereotype. I just don't think that they were doing it with the stereotype in mind.
I wouldn't be surprised, like, if they were, though, because recall who got to be HIV positive in the show. Like, typically HIV positive groups. The druggies, the gay people.
Yeah. It was...
Like, I wouldn't be surprised if it was a sort of, like, unrecognized bias in the creators' minds.
This is what you are.
Yeah, exactly. Like, being, like, progressive only insofar as showing them as humans, but not, like, seeking to dispel, unhelpful stereotypes.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ace writes there are things that like can be vastly improved with for Ace people, like especially the idea that while you're in a relationship you owe this person sex. Like that needs to be improved for all peoples, but like Ace people especially. Or like why don't you just give your significant other sex, otherwise you're gonna be alone for the rest of your life. But admittedly, yeah, there's a lot less work needing to be done specifically for us than, say, a trans person or non-binary person.
Yeah.
Or even a gay person in a lot of places, too.
The point does need to be made that, like, because I know there's going to be a prissy commenter who's like, you're not oppressed, this is oppression. No,
This
like,
isn't the oppression fucking Olympics.
Yeah,
Grow up.
There's, if you can name any degree of oppression, you can form and you can name a higher degree of oppression than that, then you can form a continuum that tends down to 0, and you can slide anywhere along that, and it still counts.
Yeah, it's not like it's just like doing otherwise is participating in the African orphan fallacy, where you can't be sad about your situation because there are starving orphans in Africa. Like that's that. If that is true, then the reverse is true too, where you can't be happy because there's a happy millionaire somewhere who's better off than you.
Yep. If you can't feel bad because people have it worse, then you can't feel good because people have it better.
Exactly, and it makes no sense, but that is the default reaction to an ace person wanting to be recognized as LGBT as they rightfully are.
Mm-hmm. You know, I used to know somebody, we'll call him the Tortoise. I used to know this guy, the Tortoise, who was, like, purely relativistic in his outlook on things. Like, if he was good at something, he would feel like if seeing somebody who was better at that thing made him worse. And I'm like, I tried to tell him like a dozen times, look, bro, if you have a 5-story building and there exists a 6-story building, the 5-story building didn't get shorter. I made that exact argument to him, and he's like, but it's not the tallest anymore. It used to be the tallest. And like, I couldn't get him to...
Like, only because of what you knew of. Like, it's not like the world changed suddenly knowing that there was someone better than you.
Yeah, nothing about the building changed.
Yeah, it's just your, like, the context that you view the building in.
Yeah.
That's all.
And he never got past that idea, ever, for the entire time that I knew him.
My gosh. Like, I mean, it makes sense that you don't really hang out with him or know him anymore.
No fucking kidding, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, not my kind of dude.
No. Jeez.
Anyway, Ace writes.
Yeah, Ace writes, yo. I think that's all I have to say on it. Like, no, we're not the worst off, but, like, that doesn't mean we don't suffer at all for being Ace.
Yep, because there's only 2 levels of suffering. All and none.
Mm-hmm. Basically. We got a lot further.
Yeah,
like,
we got a lot more out of that than I was expecting.
Yeah, same here. Like, once we actually got talking, then I was able to, like, bring up tangents and stuff.
Yeah, so I guess the point that I'll leave you with is clunge. Good night, everybody.
That's me gagging.